Boxing Talk. I'm your host, Andrew Bocanegra. I'm here with Brian Mendoza, boxing analyst. $40 million. That's a lot of money to lose for not making that fight happen, huh?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy to see especially how close to the fight this kind of fell through. Everything fell apart, and I know they're scrambling now. Looking for a replacement.
Yeah. So what are the names? Who'd we hear? Andre Ward,
And
Ngannou,
Diaz. Several people. I even know, even Rolly. I saw him.
Rolly Romero. Saw that. Ryan Garcia. And then we saw what happened with Oscar De La Hoya, right? He got onto social media and said, "Hey, immediately, yeah." So what did you catch from that? What did he say? He said
just that Ryan obviously has his contracts with Golden Boy. Golden Boy set with DAZN, and so just how they always say in boxing, it's across the street. That's the promoter across the street. So they have their obligations and. That's not something Oscar's willing, to let slide for now. They have their things going. So that was immediately shut down. That was one of the first ones that got shut down.
Yeah. And I think that would have probably been the biggest opponent for him, right? I mean, I'm not saying that Garcia has the same following as Jake Paul, but he definitely has a big following. And at the end of the day, it could have been YouTuber against YouTuber.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
I think that actually could have been a very lucrative fight for everybody involved. But it's still always, possible maybe in the future. So you never know. But right now, as far as a last-minute replacement for something, there it's not happening.
Yeah, so, if you take an MMA fighter versus a boxer, right, MMA fighter, doesn't have the I don't want to say the same experience, but they really don't, right? It's just, I don't want to call it an entirely different sport, but it is. So when you look at Diaz, I think that could be a good fight, but, I mean, what if it was Andre Ward? Like, what would that look like? Would he have a chance against an experienced, at one time the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, Andre Ward, winner of the Super Six, to me, one of the best pound-for-pound, fighters of all time, me personally. I mean, how would that play out? How do you think that would play out?
I think that would play out very differently. We've seen the one time that Jake Paul did really fight, a legitimate younger boxer, that it didn't go so well. So, things like that, that's things we really have to look at. And I'm not someone that's even overly critical of Jake Paul. I think that he's putting in the work. He has real camps. He has real sparring partners he brings in. So I'm not overly critical like most people are. But, the opponents that they're trying to say, like that, he's kind of building this resume. It's hollow in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
They're big names, obviously, huge followings and everything. The man knows how to sell. He can sell some tickets and get those viewerships. But as far as, being in there with a legitimate boxer, that even Ward, even though he is, he's been retired for years and everything, but that's not a man you call to play around with.
Absolutely not. I mean, we're not talking about a 140-pounder, right? I'm sure Ward, would come in at, probably, what was he fighting at, 160, 165. He's been retired for a little bit, probably put on a couple LBs. The question is, could he get back in the gym and get back and prepared, with 2 or 3 months notice? He was talking about gearing back up for December, but I just can't see that happening in December. But regardless, whatever happens, we're excited to see Jake Paul back in the ring with another big opponent.
Definitely, yeah. I think whoever they do, like I said, Jake Paul definitely knows how to sell, and he knows who to call to be able to sell the fight from their end as well. So whoever it does, I just know it's going to be a big fight for everybody involved.
Yes. Now Mario Barrios versus Garcia, that's been in the talks, right? Is that happening? I mean, I don't know. There's so many different rumors going on.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I believe I read on Ring that they're finalizing the deal.
Yeah, those are the rumors. But honestly, I didn't even need to hear the rumors. As soon as I heard that Rolly was possibly fighting Pacquiao, and they're trying to finalize that fight. So Garcia lost his opponent. They're really trying to get him a belt, a real world title. So just by process of elimination, I knew they would be calling Barrios up and they would be trying to get that done. So
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I saw that one coming a mile away, and it looks like it. Those are the rumors.
Yeah. So the question is how is this going to play out? I mean, you're very familiar with both fighters. I know. I don't know what your feedback is on Barrios. To me, I think he could have done a better job against the older Pacquiao coming in on the last fight. But it is what it is. Now going forward against Garcia is not Pacquiao. Garcia is much younger. Right. He has the stamina, that left hook, which Barrios is definitely going to have to watch out for. How do you see that fight playing out?
It does go, what you just said, Garcia is not Pacquiao. It does go both ways. Like, yeah, he's not an older fighter, but an older legend is still a legend. So in the same way, Garcia is not Pacquiao. I don't think he's going to be able to give Mario the same weird angles, the awkward speed, just all the awkwardness all around. So yeah, I think it's going to be a very different fight, and I feel like Mario would be very good at neutralizing that left hook, which is kind of, as far as I see, kind of Ryan's biggest and maybe only big weapon in a lot of his fights.
Sure.
I know he has great speed and everything, but I haven't seen him hurt too many people with the right hand. And I really feel like Mario has a lot more tools in his arsenal for that.
Yeah. So he struggled, definitely in his last fight with Rolly. Do you think that's the playbook? Should Barrios follow that same playbook with that last loss with Rolly back in New York?
Yeah, because I don't know about you, but Rolly beating Ryan by decision, down the fight was not in my bingo card. That's not something that I ever would have put money on. I fully thought, Rolly, if anything, was going to go in there and knock him out. Obviously, he's always swinging for those big shots, and he can crack. So the playbook has been there. Just like you saw, Devin didn't really follow it too much.
Yes,
you got to keep that right hand up, block that left hook, and neutralize it. Not just block it, but neutralize it. How can you take that away from him? That's what you really need to look at. And yeah, obviously, see some of that film study, see exactly how Rolly did it in that fight, and everything. So it's not so much just don't think just because you keep your hand up, you're safe. You got to be able to neutralize it and take away their best weapon as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So whatever date that ends up happening, should it end up happening, we're excited to see that. Ortiz Lubin, that's the big talk now, right? That's coming up this weekend in Fort Worth, Texas. Wow, there's just so many different opinions on how that fight's going to play out. Me personally, I have Ortiz. I think he's just going to come in aggressive. I can't remember what the point spread is, but I think that's going to be I don't want to say an easy win because Lubin's definitely no slouch. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. I still lean towards Ortiz in that fight. I feel like he's got the better momentum going for him right now and everything. But Lubin is not a guy you count out. I'm in that division. I keep my eye on these guys, and I've been watching for years. And Lubin, he's a sharpshooter. He's got that range. He's definitely gonna have the range advantage on Ortiz. But Ortiz brings that pressure, that power, and everything. So we're gonna see. I do feel like Ortiz does have some flaws and everything that Lubin style maybe actually be able to take advantage of. So that's something I'm actually really interested just as a fight fan and as a possible opponent, for these guys in the future.
Yeah.
I'm definitely keeping my eyes. I'm very interested in that fight. And I'm going to be watching. So like I said, though, I'm leaning towards Ortiz, but do not count Lubin out in this fight.
So Ortiz is definitely a pressure fighter. We know that. And he can keep up that pressure even in the later rounds. Lubin, however, is great at controlling the tempo. Right, he can lower that pace, at any point throughout the fight. How do you see? I mean, is that going to be an advantage for Lubin, the fact that he can control that tempo, or do you think Ortiz is just going to be unstoppable?
That is one of the advantages I do see for Lubin as well. That you saw in that fight against Ramos when he fought, Mono Ramos. It was the basic plot of that fight was that it was slow. Lubin was able to slow that down, and Ramos is another guy that likes to put pressure from the first to the last round, and Lubin, he was able to slow that down a lot. So it's just gonna see, because Ortiz doesn't seem to care. I've seen him throw, even if you hit him with an angle and you're off at a distance or something, he'll still turn around, he'll jab and start swinging from an awkward angle. So he just likes to throw. So if Lubin can slow him down, or if Ortiz just isn't going to care and he's going to swing no matter what angle he's at with distance and find a way to put that pressure, that's one of the things I'm really interested to see actually in this fight, if Lubin's able to pull that off.
Got it. Okay, so Ortiz typically fighting with the hands high, right? Because he's looking for that overhand, if you want to call it the overhand. And so he leaves his body open. He's accessible. He has great head movement. Right. So do you see that as an advantage, considering that Lubin may kind of stay on the outside and not want to come in?
It depends, but I feel like with Lubin's range and the way that he's such a sharpshooter, I think he could be able to find some of those body shots. And then you even saw in Ortiz's fight with Bolachuk, he was put down a couple of times. Some of those weren't real knockdowns, but. So a guy like Lubin landing those same shots, we're gonna have to see how Ortiz can take that as well. So So it's very interesting, but I feel like, you know, for the slight openings that Ortiz does have, that Lubin is, like I keep saying, you know, sharpshooter. So he's going to be able to find those openings. So we're going to see how Ortiz takes those shots.
Got it. If you were to compare it, take a style that Ortiz has fought that gave him some challenges, because Ortiz has been in the ring with some big names, right? I would say probably bigger than Lubin. I mean, who would you say gave him the toughest? Who was his toughest opponent to date?
I feel like it was you know, the last two fights with Boacek and Madrimov.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, and Madrimov was giving him a lot of trouble when he was boxing. You know, sometimes it was a little too much movement, so I think that was came to the detriment of Madrimov, but which was why he slowed down late. But it's I don't know if either of those really compare to Lubin, because yeah, he does slow the fight down, but not really by over movement. You know, he has his control. You know, he has enough movement. You know, so he's not slowing down too much himself down the stretch. So I don't know if it's a comparison, but yeah, I feel like the last two fights, you know, that's where Ortiz has had his biggest challenges.
Great. So what's your prediction for the fight? Do you think it's going to go the distance? Do you see someone getting dropped early, late?
I think someone's getting dropped. You know, Lubin has you know, been shown, you know, he can get caught, he can be definitely hurt, and Ortiz in these last couple of fights is actually where he's finally kind of really showing some flaws there. So we'll see. I think someone's definitely going down, but we still could end up with a hard fought decision. I think, you know, regardless, it's a war, so it either ends late or goes down the stretch of full blown war.
Well, there you have it. Hey, thanks for watching. Be sure to check into our channel at boxingvip.com and Boxing VIP Network on YouTube. You can also watch us on Fight Hype. Thank you for watching, and thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Pleasure.